The Old West was a hard place.
Hello, Johnny from Eurogamer here, and recently I got a look at Hard West, a turn-based strategy game set in the Wild West, or, I guess, the Hard West, where all is not quite as it seems. In Hard West, you control a posse of different cowpokes on a winding adventure crammed with gunfights and supernatural goings-on. Now obviously the most immediate and tempting comparison you could make when looking at the gameplay is with XCOM Enemy Unknown, what with your cover mechanics and your special abilities and what have you, but Hard West is actually a very different beast. In many ways it's more exacting than XCOM, it's bleaker, grittier, and it's also cleverly designed to stop you from turtling your way through, which, let's face it, is how 80% of people play games like these unless they're playing on some masochistic difficulty setting. So here's why Hard West is really bloody interesting. Actually, bloody is a pretty good place to start. Like I said, Hard West is exacting, mainly because it's so deadly. In order to reflect the gritty reality of, you know, getting shot, it often doesn't take more than one well-placed bullet to kill someone. This makes for some really rewarding moments when you line up a shot just right, but of course, that damage scale cuts both ways. Compared to similar games in which you can really pump up your character's hit points, the people you control are far squishier. In my playtime with Hard West, I've learned it really doesn't take much to leave one of your characters out in the open and have them take some serious lumps. This problem is exacerbated by the size of your posse, which can feel intimidatingly small. At no point during my time with Hard West did I have more than 3 people to control, and that left me feeling a bit stretched even at the best of times. It's an enjoyable tension, don't get me wrong, but losing a posse member to the enemy instantly makes you feel the squeeze in such a profound way, far more so than other turn-based strategy games I've played in the past. When I've lost squad members in XCOM, for instance, I've been more sad about losing them as a personality than wondering as to whether I'll be able to finish the mission, or indeed any subsequent ones, because unless they're one of the main story characters, when they're gone, they're gone.
You gave your last breath.
There's also a great optional mechanic in Hard West whereby you can take serious wounds. You can have your pace crippled, for instance, severely limiting the number of tiles you can move. Now, you can of course go visit a doctor and get those wounds seen to, or you can choose to keep them and incorporate them into your character. Persevere and each wound will become a scar, meaning while your movement will still be restricted, your character becomes hardened, which carries other gameplay benefits. In other words, be a badass, become a badass, just don't get killed. Still, as unforgiving as Hard West can be, there's every chance you'll pull through, assuming your cowpokes have luck on their side. See, luck is actually one of the most interesting mechanics on offer in Hard West. The game does away with random dice rolls for hit chances, instead giving every combatant an aim stat and a luck meter. When someone shoots at you, or vice versa, it compares the aim stat of the attacker with your current luck value. If your luck is lower than their aim stat, you're gonna get hit. But here's the thing, assuming you survive, getting shot gives you luck points, making you harder to hit next time. Similarly, if someone keeps shooting at you and missing, that whittles away your luck points and increases their chances of plugging you on their next shot. It means you're constantly keeping an eye on your luck meter and questioning whether it's full enough to justify that daring flanking maneuver, or conversely, whether it's worth taking another pot shot at that guy way over there. Hard West has no Overwatch feature and rewards anyone bold enough to get within 5 tiles of another with a guaranteed hit, so you have to quite literally ask yourself, do I feel lucky? Happily, the answer to that question is quite routinely yes, thanks to the ability system, which for my money is Hard West's crowning achievement. Now, before I get into this, I'd like to pause for a minute and talk about pen and paper role-playing games, because if I don't do that at least once every 3 hours, I start feeling sick. One of the key influences on Hard West is a pen and paper called Deadlands. I've been playing this game on and off for a number of years now, and it's actually the reason I became interested in Hard West in the first place. Deadlands lets you create pretty much any character you can think of in the Weird West, a version of America packed with monsters, shamans, undead people, mad scientists with terrifying gadgets, and, coolest of all, hucksters. Now, hucksters are effectively witches or wizards who use a deck of cards to play poker with demons, for crying out loud, then draw their power to use in devastating magical abilities. It's really cool is what I'm trying to say. Using a similar motif to Deadlands, each ability you can acquire in Hard West is tied to a different playing card, and each character has 5 ability slots. Assigning a card to a character gives them that ability, but if you pick your cards carefully, you can also make a poker hand, which in turn gives you a boost. Use your jokers carefully enough and you can even make a 5 of a kind, which will give you a serious lift. Anyone who's had a duel in Deadlands, or indeed played spin-off card game Doomtown, something I also won't shut up about, should be feeling right at home. Being able to swap out these abilities before you enter each combat offers a great opportunity for strategic planning, because nothing is tied down to an individual character. While they undoubtedly have their own personalities and traits, it leaves you freer to experiment with the cards you have available, effectively taking a different build of the same character into each fight. While some of these abilities, like the excellent Ricochet, are effectively skill-based, others take on a distinctly occult or otherworldly quality. These, combined with the Nightmare gameplay sequences in which you're battling actual demons, holding guns, give Hard West a sinister, unpredictable edge that delights in its own twisted nature. It's a lot of fun, and it's also pretty dark. But hey, whether you're killing people with occult powers or just good old-fashioned bullets, it's worth remembering that combat isn't the only thing on offer in a turn-based strategy game. What about the time spent in between gunfights? This is where much of the story is played out as you wend your way across the West, making choices in what is, at its most reductive, a text-based adventure. The fun thing about this bit is the choices you make have genuine consequences further down the line, letting you play the characters as you can imagine them reacting. At one point in my playthrough, for instance, I found a dead guy, and I could either leave him alone or search him and take his stuff. Obviously I took his stuff, and I found a nice necklace which I put on immediately, because if there's one thing pen and paper role-playing games have taught me, it's that you always search a corpse. Anyway, I then went to ask some guy for information, and he noticed the necklace and basically refused to talk because he knew I'd pinched it off a dead guy. I kicked myself, but then again the guy's reaction was fair enough. Like I said, Hard West is exacting.
Okay, what is Doomtown Reloaded? Here goes. Doomtown Reloaded is a game that currently has 4 playable factions, soon to become 6. Right now you've got the Law Dogs, they're your peacekeepers, the Sloan Gang, they're the outlaws and my personal favourite, the Fourth Ring, a bunch of circus freaks with terrifying occult powers, and the Morgan Cattle Company, the big business ranchers of the game and home to mad scientists who make all sorts of gadgets.